I'm glad to welcome you all to the Upscale YouTube channel. As always, I'm Igor Fox. Today, we're going to talk about our new funded trader named Maksim, who has a $10,000 account and has already made quite a significant profit. He will share his stories and his trading strategies. And of course, during this video, you'll find out how to get up to $400,000 in capital from Upscale to manage for your trading strategies without any risk to your own funds. Well then, let's get started. Welcome, Maksim.
Yes, hello. How are you?
Feeling today, are you?
I'm in a great mood.
I'm really glad to hear that. Please tell us, for our guests, introduce yourself. What's your name, for example? Where do you live? And what do you do besides trading?
My name is Maksim. I'm 36 years old and I live in Saint Petersburg. I currently work as a foreman at a busy factory, and in addition to active trading,
Maybe you could also tell us how you got into trading in general. So basically, your main job is hands-on, while trading is more about using your brain, right? How did that career change happen?
I got into it thanks to a friend of mine who also works with me at the factory. He showed me his personal chart. I don't remember which coin it was, maybe Bitcoin, but that's not really important. And he told me you can make really good money with this. You just need to learn how to trade. I thought, well, big money is always interesting. I figured I need to learn, right? In general, that's how I always achieve my goals in life. So I decided to try to reach this goal too, to learn how to trade, to master trading. I started searching the internet for tons of information, trading, analysis, began studying smart money, and at the same time started mining Notcoin. Actually, in part, Notcoin also influenced my fate. It was another additional factor that really drew me into the crypto industry thanks to Notcoin. That's how I got to know what it was all about. I learned what blockchain is, a lot of different terms, how everything works, all sorts of withdrawals from these bots to exchanges. I started getting familiar with exchanges, installed one, then another, a third, and even a 10th.
So you were basically studying the market?
Yes, exactly. With Notcoin, I successfully managed to earn my very first $1,000 in the exciting world of crypto, of course. More in the end, I actually sold my Notcoin and left all of that money on the exchange because I was still quite inexperienced and had no real discipline. So I broke the important rules I had set for myself and quickly lost that entire $1,000. But I didn't get discouraged and kept diligently studying technical analysis. I studied everything I could find. The beginnings of a strategy started to appear gradually over time, and these early ideas started to come together somehow. And at this point, you could say my strategy has almost settled. Maybe I'll still make some changes to it, but overall, I'm already satisfied with how it works because I'm actually able to make money now. So that's basically how it is.
Listen, I often hear from many people I talk to that Notcoin actually became that significant acceleration point, which truly strengthened their overall position, basically, when you really put down your roots deeply in the world of cryptocurrency. And it's truly great to hear that Notcoin was also such a pivotal turning point for you, in fact. A truly remarkable and impactful moment in your journey. After all, $1,000 is quite a significant amount in many regions and countries, regardless. So, listen, you started talking about your trading strategy. Why don't you show us how it's set up overall? We'll switch over to TradingView or the terminal now, and you can tell our viewers what kind of trading strategy you've developed through self-learning. All right, here we are in the terminal. Max, tell us, what do you call your strategy overall? Is it more like scalping, swing trading, or intraday? How would you characterize your trading approach?
Well, my strategy is definitely not scalping. In general, I trade mostly within the day, but sometimes there are trades that I can hold for several days. Well, a few days is probably the longest I've held trades, but honestly, I'd like to hold them even longer sometimes. However, I haven't quite developed the patience for that yet, and patience is something that's really important in trading. There are trades, for example, you enter a position and you know that, well, in the near future, let's say you're confident, or at least you think you're confident that for the next 3 days we should be going up. So you enter the trade, and maybe for a day we do go up, but then the chart starts showing some kind of correction, and that's when all these thoughts start creeping in. Maybe I should take profit, and you start hesitating, second guessing yourself. That's where I still lack enough patience. Well, in general,
That's classic trading, basically. And accordingly,
you close the trade, and what does that make you do? It pushes you to open new trades. On the one hand, you could have just stayed in one trade, simply sat in it and waited, but instead you decided to close it, made some money for your work, but you could have earned more. So as a result, you're waiting again to open new trades, and there's no guarantee that when you open new trades, all of them will be successful. This factor can also affect your statistics. So now I've come to the conclusion that it's better to have fewer trades, a smaller number of trades, but they should be of higher quality, so to speak.
all right, so let's move on to what indicators you use when trading, for example. What can't you imagine your trading day without? Maybe you use the SMA or perhaps wave analysis.
Well, when it comes to indicators, honestly, everything is pretty basic. I use an indicator, one of the main ones, that shows order blocks based on sport money. They're all marked on the chart, so I don't have to draw anything myself. It also marks some liquidity shelves. Here they are shown on the chart. You can see structure breaks, the main structure, substructure. It displays all of that. Plus, I use RSI MACD volumes. Stochastic, I have all of those, and I keep an eye on them.
That's quite an impressive arsenal. Many traders use at most 2 or 3 indicators, but you have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
I don't really rely on them that much. They're just there for me, kind of, but well, I use them, I don't know, maybe about 10% of the time, and even then, I just check them quickly. I don't really rely on them much. Mainly, I have the indicator for sport money, and then I also have a volume indicator that shows the volumes. That's it. Mostly, basically, as for the other indicators, I generally don't use them. Very rarely, I might turn on something like Yama or something else, but that's pretty rare. Mainly, it's the volume indicator and the sport money indicator, and that site as well.
So, you know what's interesting? For example, we've just opened the chart together. How do you go about analyzing it? Could you analyze this chart that's currently on our screen so that our viewers can generally understand how you build your trading strategy?
And the last thing we saw was that we were moving in an ascending channel, right? At first, we broke out upwards, made a breakout, but it turned out to be a false one. As a result, we exited the channel to the downside. I didn't trade here at all since I mostly trade elsewhere. So in general, I only trade situations that are clear to me. If something isn't clear, I don't trade it. I like to trade, for example, tests of trends from the opposite side. They tend to work quite well, but with formations like this. So we broke out, then formed a small area of liquidity here, which we actually took out, went a bit lower, came back, did a trend test. These are the kinds of formations I like, the ones that are clear and make sense to me. Here I would have entered a short position, and responsibly I could have caught the move. Then what was I waiting for? These are the kinds of situations that are clear to me, and I've drawn it out here. That is, we had a liquidity shelf formed here, which I marked with an arrow, and we also had our support here. So what did the price do? The price action came directly to the critical support zone, then it decisively broke through it, effectively taking out all those stop loss liquidities, and as a direct result, accordingly, it gave a truly remarkable and significant reaction. We went up by 21%, and as you can see, I had arrows marked here showing where we could go. Ideally, I actually wanted a move from the second arrow so that we would reach this point, take out this liquidity, and get to this area from the order book. Plus, we would have covered this small hourly imbalance. But with this arrow, we didn't quite get there and instead went long from the first one. Some patterns, maybe. Patterns, no matter what people say, like patterns don't work, but actually that's not true. Patterns do work, not always, of course, but again, when there's volume confirmation, everything works out just fine.
Am I right in understanding that by patterns you mean things like the cup and handle, double bottom, double top?
Double bottom, again, yes, and an ascending channel, that's a pattern too, right? We were moving within a pattern, an ascending channel, and then we broke out of it to the short side, collected liquidity, kept collecting and collecting liquidity, and now we're continuing, well, basically the movement at this moment.
I want to ask a clarifying question. In which coins do you feel most at home? So, what are your main trading assets, or does it not matter at all? You just look for opportunities no matter what it is.
It doesn't matter really. There are some coins that just don't work for me at all, just don't suit me in any way. Here in this particular list, yeah, I have a selection of coins that I generally tend to trade. I exclusively trade with Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, TON, and BNB. Sometimes, yes, I might indeed touch upon BNB. I've thoroughly looked at it. Basically, all these specific coins, aside from RBA, ALAX, and Avia, are ones that I actively trade. The last three, RBA, ALAX, and Avia, are somehow inexplicably added to my personal list, but I don't actually trade them at all. I honestly don't know precisely why they are there.
And in your list, you mentioned that you trade Viv and Doge, which are basically meme coins compared to all the other assets you listed. Is there any difference in their price behavior, or does your strategy work exactly the same for them as it does for the others?
Overall, it works. The strategy works pretty much the same. It's just that, for example, Viv is quite a volatile asset. So if I trade Viv, I do it carefully. Right now, I stick to my strategy. Of course, before entering a trade, I immediately set a stop and check how large it will be. In general, according to my current strategy, I trade with a maximum of 10% of my total volume. With Viv, for example, I might enter with 3% or 5%, depending on the stop. That's how it works for me. It depends on the stop loss.
And how do you handle your risk-reward model?
Well, I typically trade with, say, about 10% of my total deposit. And if I happen to take a loss, I always make sure to set it so that the absolute maximum loss I could potentially incur is approximately 10%. Well, actually, more precisely, around 7 or 8%. That's the carefully considered strategy I've come to now. That is truly the absolute maximum amount I am willing to lose on any single individual trade.
So that means your stop loss is set at 0.7% or 0.8% of your deposit.
Yes, yes, yes. That's precisely the exact model I've been consistently sticking to lately, and I have been successfully trading with it, achieving positive results. I don't exceed my risk limits. Of course, in principle, I can certainly increase them. I have definitely had several trades, yes, where my stop loss was set at a level that was, let's see, a little bit over 2% on the cryptocurrency Solana, which is a significant amount to consider in a trading strategy. However, I consciously decided to enter into that particular trade because, first and foremost, I possessed an exceptionally high degree of confidence in its potential success and the thorough research I had conducted. Secondly, and equally important, I had already accumulated a substantial amount of earned money within my account, funds that I was entirely prepared and willing to risk, or to put it another way, to part with, should the outcome not be as favorable as anticipated. The risk was a bit higher than usual, but again, as I said, I was confident in the trade and I had already made some profits. And if I hadn't had those earned profits, if my account balance was just zero or just $10,000, I wouldn't have taken on that much risk. I would have played it safe.
So with that in mind, let's now move over to Upscale, and you can kindly show us your current and most recent progress on this particular project. As we can see, you have another $10,000 in funding, and you even have a $5,000 challenge as well. Can you share how much time it took you overall to complete the first phase, the second phase, and whether you encountered any problems during the process?
Let's start right from the very beginning then. Actually, my very first upscale challenges were $1,000 challenges. I think there were 6 of them. Like I said, I was fine-tuning my strategy, and only recently did I find the right balance. Plus, of course, there was a psychological factor, the fact that there were setbacks, so to speak. Sometimes I would go all in, but I always weighed the risks very carefully. As a result, I failed some of those challenges. All in all, there were 5 or 6 challenges. I think it was 6. So in the end, I passed the last challenges, but what happened was that I passed it, and then by accident, I got closed out because of the daily drawdown limit.
Most likely, you had a position that was opened yesterday, there was some P&L, and then you forgot to set a stop, right?
No, for me, it was a bit different. I did have a position. Yes, I had made some profit, and then a new day started. And on that particular day, I was diligently working the night shift at the factory. So my trading position was open for quite some time, but it gradually started moving significantly against me, meaning that I was already deeply in the red for the entire day. I closed the trade because it was already getting close to the limit, the daily drawdown, and I realized I could get stopped out just because of the drawdown. So basically, I closed the trade myself. So I closed the trade, that's it. I came home in the morning after my night shift, went to bed, woke up, and thought I should check the market, analyze it, and see if there were any trades I could enter. I opened 2 trades, and literally a couple of minutes later, I get a message saying, "Goodbye, challenge."
But how did that happen? You had a stop loss, didn't you set it then or what?
I did set the stop loss, it's just that the trades immediately went a bit against me, and I simply forgot about the daily drawdown that had already been reached at that point. I see, I get how it happened to you. I just forgot that basically I wasn't supposed to trade today at all because the drawdown was already too high. I simply forgot about it, opened some trades, they went a bit against me, and as a result, my challenge was closed, but there was some money earned there overall.
Am I right in understanding that this was already a funded account?
Yeah, there was about $70 earned there. Well, at the peak, it was $110, so I was holding that trade, and in the end, I closed it. That trade, or maybe a few trades, I don't really remember, ended up bringing me $70. Then it got closed due to the daily drawdown limit.
We can go to the history section right above your challenges, and there you can see your overall account history. Like you said, if you scroll down, you can actually see how many accounts you've closed and so on. Yeah, so it looks like your account was closed for the first time on April 20th, and then you
Tried again. So I bought another challenge, and it subsequently got closed. Then, yeah, it got closed again, closed, bought, and so on. Basically, that's precisely how the entire process went down repeatedly.
And here's exactly the thing. If you don't pay close attention, right, you see that you've passed the first phase, passed the second phase, everything's going well for you, and then 6 days later, this situation with the night shift happens, and you weren't keeping an eye on the daily drawdown.
Yeah, exactly.
So how did it happen that you suddenly decided to take on a $10,000 challenge if before that you were trading with just 1,000?
That was actually my goal. I meticulously planned, starting initially with just $18, well, more precisely, with the ambitious $1,000 challenge. Yes, I carefully planned to diligently earn enough money to confidently take on the much larger and more significant $10,000 challenge. And then, accordingly, once we had the $10,000 challenge, I planned to earn enough for the $100,000 challenge. And what happened in the end was that I did complete the $1,000 challenge. I successfully completed the challenging task, I truly did, and yes, there was indeed some money earned. Absolutely, there was certainly money made, but it just so happened that, well, it was entirely my mistake. I regrettably didn't keep a close eye on the drawdown. I simply forgot about it. What more can you really do in such a situation, you know? But since the challenging endeavor was basically completed, I quickly realized that I absolutely did not want to waste any precious time, nor did I want to simply buy a $1,000 challenge for just $1,000. So I made the immediate decision to purchase the challenge right away, and I successfully passed it on the very first try, and I have already withdrawn money from it once, and we can just
switch to the certificates and take a look at your withdrawal and the fact that you have a funded account. Oh, look, you actually have a certificate showing that you were funded for $1,000. This is the challenge that was completed.
And there's more to it than that.
It's a significant profit payout as well. If you simply click on it, that's absolutely right. More
A withdrawal
for $860. Listen, you really have a very interesting story. I rarely meet people who truly set a goal and see it through to the end. That deserves respect.
I'm actually quite a goal-oriented person when I need to be. At the same time, alongside trading, I also started changing my life. For example, I used to smoke cigarettes for about 10 years. I'm 36 now, and I used to smoke. In September, it would have been 27 years. And I thought I didn't need it anymore. So I quit smoking, started again, got back into sports. When I was younger, I was pretty active in sports, but then, well, family work and a lack of time, all of that had an impact, and, well, some laziness too. I started reading a book, and it was actually really interesting. Even though I absolutely hate reading and all these actions, it turns out, they discipline you. So as a result, you discipline yourself, and you also discipline yourself in trading. All of this is pretty interconnected. Now, another example, let's say I want to slim down my stomach a bit. Again, it's all about going on a diet, not eating flour-based foods, sweets, and so on. Before, I honestly couldn't really go without those things. It all comes down to little things. You discipline yourself in everyday life, and as a result, that discipline carries over into trading. But for now, the numbers speak for themselves. So it turns out another withdrawal is already being prepared, about $2,000. I'm moving toward my goal, and that goal is to buy a $100,000 challenge.
Max, tell us about it. So, when you first started trading 3 years ago, you were trading with your own capital. And only recently did you get acquainted with prop trading. So tell me, are there any psychological differences between trading with your own money and trading with company capital like it works at Upscale?
Well, of course, the difference was huge for me. You know, trading with someone else's money is always less stressful than trading with your own deposit. Here you realize that you bought the challenge, and the only money you risk losing is what you paid for the challenge itself. It's a completely different story. You understand that, for example, when a person is trading, if they lose discipline or slip up, they could wipe out the entire deposit. And if the deposit is, say, $10,000, that would be pretty painful. With trading on Upscale, it turns out that you just pay, say, $10,000 for the challenge.
Yeah, that's about 1 to 2% of the provided capital.
Right, so it's not a big deal to lose that money, and you can always start over. You understand that perfectly well. And another big advantage is that the platform, well, if you take on a challenge, in general, you take the challenge and set some boundaries for yourself. And so these crucial boundaries that you meticulously set, like for example, the daily drawdown limit, they all gradually accumulate over time. For instance, when I was actively undertaking the significant $10,000 challenge, I distinctly recall having two specific moments that one could accurately describe as profound psychological breakdowns. I was undeniably losing complete control of my emotions and my trading discipline. I started impulsively entering trades without any coherent strategy or thorough analysis at all, which was a significant deviation from my usual methodical approach. So I had drawdowns, daily ones, but actually they weren't exactly daily. Overall, I had a drawdown of about $700, which is 7%. So
Your account went down to 9,300.
yes, it was even lower at one point. The drawdown was over $700. And that happened to me twice. As for the daily drawdown, there were several times when I had to stop, and I was just a few dollars away from failing the challenge. And I would stop, close everything, close TradingView, shut down the terminal, and just not touch anything. Basically, I would take a mental break. The next day, I'd log in, look at that deep negative balance, think, yeah, well, it's not the end of the world, pull myself together and then trade again, completely covering the loss and even making extra profit on top. And that's how it went for me both times I went through it. Twice I experienced a significant loss of control. Twice I found myself down by more than 700 units. And on both of these challenging occasions, I managed to meticulously pull myself together. And by diligently following my established trading strategy, I successfully won all of that money back. In fact, quite rapidly, I recovered everything and ultimately ended up in a very comfortable profit. In the end, I successfully passed the entire challenge. Right now, from a psychological perspective, I genuinely feel you could confidently say absolutely perfect. Overall, during these last 2 weeks of intense trading, I've truly liked and appreciated how I've been executing my trades. I don't spend an excessive amount of time actively engaged in the market. Instead, I meticulously look for specific positions with, so to speak, the absolute highest probability of successfully working out in my favor. I find, for example, a precise entry point and then patiently wait for the price to meticulously reach that exact level, carefully watch how the price subsequently reacts, thoroughly check if there's sufficient volume or not, and based on all of that crucial information, I either confidently enter the trade or I judiciously decide not to. That is precisely how I consistently approach and execute my trading strategy.
So, am I right in understanding that it was exactly these limits, like daily drawdown or overall drawdown? That stopped you from continuing to trade and you would take a break. And if, for example, these limits didn't exist, what usually stops you from trading? I mean, when you realize something's going wrong, what actions do you usually take to prevent that?
Previously, I didn't have any daily drawdown limits at all, since I was actively trading directly on the open exchange, and the unfortunate result was almost always the very same: complete and utter liquidation. However, thanks to the thoughtful system at Upscale, you now have a very clear and strictly enforced daily drawdown limit. And when I inevitably hit that predetermined limit, it effectively stopped me in my tracks and genuinely kept me disciplined in my trading approach. For example, even the maximum leverage you thoughtfully allow on the trading account is a very reasonable 5 times, right? That particular feature also significantly disciplines me, ensuring that I absolutely do not take on excessive or unwarranted risk. I fully understand and appreciate that trading with even a modest 5 times leverage is already a very good and substantial amount of money. You can genuinely earn quite well and consistently that way. So why on earth would anyone take on unnecessary, foolish, and ultimately detrimental risk? Before, I used to trade with an incredibly high 20 times leverage, sometimes even an astonishing 30 times.
Did you ever go as high as 100 times?
Well, on Bitcoin, I did use 25 times. Yeah, that happened.
But with that, even a move of, say, 0.5%, and that's it, you're done.
Yeah, but I was right at the very top, at the absolute peak back then. And basically, I only had a very small amount, just a few cents left in my entire balance. I honestly don't even know how much exactly. Perhaps it was around $10 or so, something like that. Or
I think
I went in with a significant 125 times leverage and made about, well, I could have potentially taken more profit, but I ultimately took a bit less, around $80, I think, or perhaps even 100. There was just a really sharp and sudden drop in the price of Bitcoin back then. It was quite a while ago. I believe it was during the winter season. So yeah, I went in with a substantial 125 times leverage and traded pretty successfully, all things considered.
Specifically about risk management. Imagine your friend comes to you and says, I want to try trading just like you do on Upscale. I've opened an account for myself. Well, I mean, maybe it's a demo account or maybe it's a real one. What would be the top 3 pieces of advice you'd give him about what he should do first? In other words, what should he never violate? What should he actually do to achieve the same success as you?
The first piece of advice I would give, yes, is probably no, definitely, once again, to stick to risk management, because without managing risk, you won't get anywhere. Overall, I believe there are two fundamental factors, right? And one doesn't work without the other. Trading is the first one. It's basically what you need to start with. That means learning how to trade, understanding the charts, and so on, right? The second is that a person must be disciplined, because one without the other just doesn't work. If you know how to trade but you lack discipline, you'll lose money. And conversely, if you have discipline but don't know how to trade, then again, you won't make any money. So these two aspects just don't work without each other.
And in order to truly develop effective discipline, first of all, do you consistently use your very own personal trading plan or something quite similar to that?
My trading plan, I trade things that are clear to me. I don't trade anything else. You could say overall, that's my trading plan.
Let's get back to the advice. So, it turns out your very first piece of advice is about risk. If I understand correctly, you're talking specifically about setting stop losses.
Overall, yes, discipline, setting stop losses. Secondly, it's important not to overexpose yourself to significant risk again, meaning you should absolutely not go all in, not betting everything at once. Like I used to absolutely love doing before. I did it quite often indeed, and the exchanges always punished me severely for it with painful liquidations. And third, and this is very important, do not spend too much time actively engaged in the market, as it can be quite volatile and unpredictable. This is also a factor. When you sit in front of the chart for too long, your eyes kind of glaze over and you might start seeing things that aren't really there. You might end up straying from your original carefully prepared plan. Doubts can start to creep in. And well, a lot, because I realized that spending too much time in the market just isn't worth it. You need to take breaks from the market too.
That sounds pretty logical. Stick to your risk management with stop losses, don't go all in, especially on meme coins with maximum leverage, and remember to take breaks, don't forget to rest. Yes, that's essential. It's very helpful. Actually, I'd even say it's not just helpful, it works, and quite a lot of traders talk about all these things. Let's move on to the final part. This is actually my favorite question. What emotions did you feel when you received your first payout? Did you have any doubts, maybe? How did it all happen? And in general, do you consider $860 to be a significant amount for you?
Well, of course, that's actually quite a decent amount of money, yes. My salary there, well, my salary is about $1,300, and I earned that in a month, and I earned 860 in, well, however many trading days I had. I honestly do not even remember how many days I traded, maybe 5, maybe 7. But it was quite a noticeably significant increase. And as for withdrawals, overall, I genuinely wasn't worried that they wouldn't let me withdraw my money. I truly didn't have any such pressing concerns. When the money finally arrived, overall, of course, I was incredibly happy and truly relieved. I had been patiently waiting for it for quite some time. I immediately cashed it all out, every single penny, and then what exactly did I do? What precisely did I choose to buy with that money? Well, yes, indeed.
You're literally reading my mind.
So I improved, how should I put it? I made my work more comfortable. That's what I did. I have a laptop, but as we all know, laptops have small screens and it's inconvenient to look at them. You can barely see the chart, you know. So I just used that money to buy myself an all-in-one computer with a 24-inch screen. I bought it solely so I could work, so it would be comfortable for me to work with charts. I significantly improved my, let's say, overall work environment. I specifically bought a subscription to Threadnic Yule so I could effectively add many more essential indicators there. I also gained immediate access to various additional and crucial timeframes that you simply can't view or utilize without a premium subscription. You can also view much more detailed history there. So with this significant payout, I truly improved my overall situation at my work and in my trading activities, yes. Plus, I also took care of some of my other needs and overall, I treated myself a bit too.
Do you currently have any particular dream or significant goal that you would genuinely like to achieve thanks to your efforts in trading?
Yeah, actually, I have quite a few significant dreams. Honestly, I really truly want to travel and explore the entire world. This planet is such a vast and incredibly big place after all. I've already been to some wonderful countries, Dominica, Thailand, Turkey, Egypt, but I'd really like to visit many more fascinating countries. There are so many incredible places on our beautiful planet, so many truly beautiful spots that I want to see and experience. So that's why the first thing is traveling. And of course, you might very well buy yourself a really nice, comfortable house abroad, perhaps even a good, reliable car. But overall, my primary and most significant goal that I truly want to achieve through consistent and dedicated trading is to ultimately gain complete financial independence. And trading, in its essence, really does offer that incredible and valuable opportunity. You just need to learn how. Learn to trade, discipline yourself. That's it. If you diligently follow these crucial factors, you will certainly get the significant opportunity to truly achieve your ultimate goal of complete financial independence. And right now, a huge advantage is that your platform has appeared because it solves a very serious problem, the problem of initial capital, the money you trade with. For example, I don't have $100,000 to trade with, but I can take that money from you, right, and trade with it and share the profits with you, basically. And everyone benefits. You earn money. I earn money thanks to you. Everyone earns, everyone is happy. So your platform really solves a huge problem. I truly believe that. And also, again, let's say when a person has a small deposit, right? What do they want? What's on their mind? To grow it as quickly as possible. So they try to accelerate it as fast as they can. But how do you do that properly? Those are the kinds of risks involved. Yes, take on more leverage, pick some highly volatile coin. But here, when you already have a comfortable amount, a good balance, why take on excessive risks? That's it. You can trade comfortably and make, I don't know, $500, $1,000, $2,000, even $10,000 per trade. For example, if you took on a $100,000 challenge, honestly, that's just wonderful. There's no need, no reason to take on extra risk.
It's really nice to hear that you like the platform. And regarding your dreams and goals, I hope that with your next payout, you'll be able to go somewhere truly wonderful. Well, maybe you've already decided to set that money aside for other purposes, but I hope you'll get to travel and your living conditions will improve. It's always nice to hear that.
I hope, or rather, I don't just hope, I know it will happen. It just takes some time. And patience? Yes, even if, well, I know that even if something happens and I fail this challenge, say for $10,000, I won't stop. I'll buy a new challenge and start trading again, and I'll keep moving toward my goal until I achieve it.
Maxim, I'd like to thank you for the interview. I'm sure that your story will inspire many people to achieve their own feats, to accomplish their own goals, and I truly believe that what you've shared with us today is indeed a remarkable achievement. To pursue your goals so quickly and decisively without getting distracted by anything at all. You had so many setbacks, so many account closures, but in the end, you still achieved what you have and you're not even planning to stop there, while many people would have given up at that point. No.
You shouldn't stop. You have to keep moving forward.
What valuable advice would you like to impart to aspiring future traders on Upscale, especially as we continue to conduct these insightful interviews with you?
Well, to all future traders out there, I would genuinely like to give the crucial advice that first and foremost, they should diligently work on themselves, truly discipline themselves, because that foundational effort will ultimately and significantly help them develop essential discipline in their trading endeavors as well. 2, don't get too worked up in the market. Again, remember the importance of taking breaks. Don't dwell on failures or losing trades. You shouldn't focus on them because losses are inevitable and they're an integral part of trading. And of course, achieving the goals you've set for yourself. If you have a goal, you need to pursue it, and I wish everyone success in achieving their goals.
Maxime, thank you for sharing. This was an amazing interview, as I already mentioned. I wish you success in trading and I hope all your goals are achieved. Thank you for coming to our interview and sharing your story.
Thank you as well. It was nice to meet you. All the best to you, and I wish you success in achieving all your goals too.
Well, friends, we've just finished our conversation with Maxim. His story is truly worth your attention, and I hope you watch this interview all the way through. I want to remind you that by following the links in the description, you can visit our platform and try to repeat Maxim's success yourself. Because why? Because Upscale is a prop trading company that allows you to trade not with your own capital, but with ours, without risking your own deposit. Thank you for being with us. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like the video, and leave your comments. We really appreciate them. See you in the next videos.